And what I think is playing out on this show that I'm seeing, like, I don't know if they're all MAGA. They might be, they might not be. I mean, Brie has even said, I don't do pronouns, which to me is horribly
thank you for telling me that. Yeah, I didn't know that till you told me that. That's wild. Yeah.
Come with us. Let's reality test.
Welcome, friends, to Reality Test. What is reality testing, you may ask? Well, it's something we all do when we check our subjective or personal emotions, thoughts, and so forth against objective or fact-based reality. So here in Reality Test, we're going to be testing the castmate realities and the producer antics of our favorite reality TV shows against what we know as licensed psychologists about the reality off of our TVs. We hope you'll join us as we attempt to reality test. That's it. Thanks, y'all. Now check out our campy theme song.
Are you feeling stressed? Your head's all a mess? Well, let's forget all the rest. Fuck it, we're blessed. Cause it's time to talk reality test. Come with us. Let's reality test.
Welcome to Reality Test. I'm Dr. Ray.
And I'm Dr. Kay. Feel free to check in and take a seat wherever you like. We're taking a weird-ass pivot, and I'm excited about it. Because this is also going to be a pivot in terms of process, which I'm also excited about. We're going to Selling Sunset reunion. Whoop, whoop.
Yay!
Where are they? Are they in they're in like Beverly Hills?
I think so. Maybe LA/Beverly Hills. And then some beach. Chelsea's more into she says she's like the beach person. But then there's been some shady posts about how much all of them actually sell. I don't know if they're true, but it seems like Crishell and Mary and Nicole are like maybe the only real estate agents in the office. I don't know if that's actually true, but who knows?
I love it. The tea. And you can tell they're sort of like not talking about that because there probably is some realness to that. Because otherwise they sometimes get asked questions to allow them to dispel myths. And so if they're not being asked about that, that's concerning. So anybody who hasn't seen Selling Sunset, the premise, there's two twins, they're male, hetero. They own a place called the Oppenheim Group, with actually several offices in different places like the OC, Orange County, and maybe whatever, Tampa, I don't know, some other places. And so they have, the first show though was this one that we're going to be talking about, and it's on Netflix. They put the whole season out at once. It's been a ton of fun drama for a long time. I dropped out after I think the third season, and Dr. Ray has seen this whole season. And so therefore it's kind of fun because Dr. Ray brings the context and I bring the naive observer sort of being like, well, what's happening? And so we'll talk about that. The other thing to know is that there are all these gorgeous women, often like very well dressed, who work at the Oppenheim Group. And that's where Dr. Ray's like, and some of them probably don't even like do the job. They're like beautiful women to be beautiful women and drama.
Yes. And it's so, I mean, the houses are beautiful. The people on the show are beautiful. I think their careers have all blown up as a result of this show. And it's overproduced for sure. And it's a little fun. I love looking at beautiful houses. So I find that really fun. And to see how like housing's like, we're no longer in the gray box era. I think we're moving out of that, which sucks for everyone who made their houses gray boxes. So it's really fun to see the real estate. So I really enjoy that piece too. And the drama's fun, even if a little contrived.
Yes, exactly. And some of it feels pretty real and intense. And I like the friendships that evolve. So then when they fall apart, it's like also cringe. It's like cringe also. Like it's a lot of emotion because there's like some pieces that feel very real. And then, some definitely contrived. Like I felt like Christine was like an entirely contrived person and act and whole deal. And then I was also going to add that the houses, I love it. Their bathrooms, the closets, all the like floor to ceiling windows.
There was a pink kitchen on this season that I was obsessed with. It was so good, and I just loved it. And I made my partner, I was like, you have to see this pink. There's another season I made him see where Amanda accused Nicole of doing cocaine and then unfortunately brought it back on the reunion. But she was like, we did cocaine together. I don't know why she's lying about it. It was like direct to camera. It was the funniest shit I've ever seen. It's a shame that it wasn't true because I lost my mind.
No. That was totally referenced on the reunion. So that wasn't this season? Because Nicole was like, have you ever seen me? And Amanda was like, well, I heard that you do it. And she was like, but you haven't seen me. And she's like, well, I heard. So it was another season?
It was like we did cocaine back together many years ago because they like there's a core group of them that have been friends for a long time. So she was like, we did cocaine together. I don't know why, because she's like always like, I don't know what these accusations, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it's apparently there have been a lot of rumors about her doing cocaine. And so I think Amanda maybe conflated in that moment because Nicole was being so awful. Honestly, you might want to just watch that little piece of it because it was so funny. Like,
I'm
it was
so down.
Well, it was awful because what Nicole said to Crishell was awful about her dead parents. And then Amanda was like, get the fuck out. And then she was essentially like, we did cocaine together. I don't know why she keeps saying, like, straight to camera, which the show is not. And it was just funny. I like kind of died. It was like 5 minutes of great TV.
I'm into it. So was that last season? I thought that was this season that they had that whole fight.
That's this season. Yes.
Oh, okay, good. I thought you meant it was another season that happened in. Oh, was the other cocaine thing was another season?
Yeah. So Crishell has accused her of doing drugs in the past. And Nicole's like, I would never do cocaine. And it's like, who fucking cares?
No.
It's LA. Everyone does cocaine. It's not that deep.
It's the same thing. I know, exactly. Yeah. Truly. That's like.
Yeah. You don't need to bring up people's parents. Like, what the fuck? It's just weird. It's really weird.
Yeah, we're totally going to talk about that because that was a rich moment and like intensity. Yeah, there's such emotional stuff happening. And exactly, like I feel like the agent, this is not okay, but I feel like the agents, like that's part of the culture. They like give cocaine to their attendees. What are they called? Agents with their actors and stuff. That's like a part of the culture. Unfortunately, it's like, oh, you're having a hard time making it to set tonight here. Like, so like, don't need to be high and mighty about it.
No,
it actually looks like too defensive. She doth protest too much, kind of thing.
Exactly. I'm sure she's done cocaine before. It's okay. It's okay, Nicole.
Yeah. Because she doesn't say, is there anyone who has seen me? She says, have you seen me do cocaine? Like she could have said, has anyone ever seen me? Like really, it's like, well, yeah, this person said it, so she can't, but she can be like, have you ever seen me? Because she knows she hasn't. So it's not super convincing.
Yeah.
And who cares? We don't care. Whatever.
Yeah. I care about her being homophobic and awful. Like she said really awful things to Crishell for multiple seasons. And that's why Crishell doesn't like her. It's really fucked.
Yeah. And then she said the fucked up thing about Crishell's parents, very insensitive, and she has the inability to apologize. If she could take accountability, that'd be one thing. Take accountability and grow. But like, is she a friend of? Like, is she not actually a main character, like a main castmate?
She kind of was a main castmate last season. And maybe for 2 seasons, but it's kind of a friend of vibe. Yeah. But she kind of got kicked off the show a little bit after the parents' comment. Jason and what's his face were like, that was awful.
Can't come back from that. Yeah, you can't come back. They're like, that was the hardest conversation I've ever had in there. And I was like, damn, that's intense. And we did see a quick little clip of it, but yeah, we'll get to it too. And also, by the way, as someone who had not seen the season and still enjoyed the reunion, even if you haven't seen Selling Sunset, I think there's some rich content area here that we can really dig into, and we'll give context because I need it anyway. So fabulous!
It's really something, y'all.
So first we have a reality check and then check-ins. So reality check is where we both bring a study that we think will be of interest. We bat it around a little bit, and then we go into check-in. So we'll start with reality check. What kind of study did you bring in with for us today, dear Dr. Ray?
This is very timely. The title of the study is The Bury Your Gaze Trope in Contemporary Television, General Shifts in Production Responses to Audience Dissent. So this is about the idea of burying your gaze, which is killing off gay characters in TV. They cite Buffy the Vampire Slayer and the 100. So this is an article by Cover and Milne. And what I'll say is they talk about ways this is changing and ways this is not changing. But I will say that this phenomenon needs to be brought to reality TV and shows like Selling Sunset, which, for example, Crishell is not coming back because they have essentially buried their gay by treating her so poorly that she's like, I can't do this anymore. So I would be curious to see how that trope plays out on reality TV. We've also seen it with like Bob the Drag Queen and Peppermint. Like characters on Traitors tend to get like ostracized first and been made like they're villainized in ways that suck. So I think the burying your gaze thing, even though it may be changing in scripted television, is still very much happening on reality TV.
So true. So true. What is the thing? So the 100, I was just thinking about that because there's like you said that, right? The show that was like a CW and then
Yes, they cited it. I haven't actually seen The 100. They just cited it in this article. So I can't speak to, but I guess they killed off their gay characters.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
I was trying to remember that. I actually really loved it, if I'm honest. It was like a fun kind of sci-fi. Like the idea was that the kids were the ones that were saved from like the world falling apart down on the planet. So they were up in the spaceship. So then they were brought back down to Earth, like, you know, to try to figure it out and like develop it. And then it turned out they'd been lied to all along and there was nothing there to help them and they had to live on their own and create their own social structure. Anyway, as I'm saying this out loud, it sounds very young adult novel, but it was probably honestly that. And it was so fun. And they had some great queer characters. And the main character, who's this like badass blonde woman who's like very like leader, a little bit masculinized, probably purposely to like make her very leader friendly. And then she ends up making out with the leader of like the opposition. And then we're sort of like, it's just, it's a fabulous subplot that's sort of like quick turn and it's great. And I think what happens, so the reason I was asking about it is I think what happens is the opposition woman dies. And I think it is pretty quick after they start making out. So maybe that's what.
That sucks.
It's almost like they didn't want to touch it because it was the CW, you know, which doesn't make it okay at all. But it's almost like they're like, what do we do? We can't show them having sex. Well,
right. God forbid.
I know. This isn't Bert and Ernie. What are we doing?
Yeah. Shit.
You gotta show it to us. We want to see it.
Yes. Damn it.
You should actually check that out. Honestly, I think you might like it too. It has some good like adult themes for being YA, I think. And also I just love sci-fi and I feel like we've talked about sci-fi before, right?
Definitely. I think it sounds very fun and I'm very down to watch it.
Fabulous. Wonderful. So love that. Burying the gays, none of that. No burying and no deading. Let's bring them to the fore. And also it reminds me of this idea of like straight people playing gay characters and that there's been more awareness around that being problematic and having more gay folks, first of all, playing straight characters, but then also being able to be the gay character as well. And I've really been enjoying some of that. Like I love Jonathan Bailey getting to play straight characters and very steamy, very, very impressive. I love it.
He melts me. Less so in Wicked, but like in I mean, his romantic scenes didn't melt me the same, but in Bridgerton, I was like, I love you. Let's get married. Let's be together forever. Jonathan, like something about the way he was in that show, I was like,
brooding older brother, like, wants to like caretake and very like, you know, like bothered or what, like perturbed by things, you know, it's like very sweet. I love it. And definitely has that like, you know, dated, the period piece look down, which I actually also feel like about Wicked. Like, I think he has that sort of like period piece soldier look for me. I loved him in that too. And also because did you see the new movie?
I did. Yes. We haven't even talked about it.
Oh my gosh.
I liked it. I did. I don't think I liked it as much as you, but I did like it. I had a good time and it was fun. It was like a full audience in the theater and it was like everyone was having fun. So it was a good time.
That's great. I've come to the conclusion that if you're like a Wicked super fan, you liked the second movie more. And if you are a casual super fan, you know, a casual fan rather than super fan, you like the first one more. Because the first one makes sense. You sort of like you're like, whoa, and you're like exploring this new world and they're sort of bibbidi bop. And then for us that are super fans, it's like our favorite songs are in the second half. And like you want to see how they build in Dorothy too, because that's different too with Toto and like you want to make sure they do justice, which they did wonderful justice to in the movie, thank goodness. But there's certain things that you're like, ooh, I wonder how they'll handle this, which you only really get that for the second half. But also, so As Long As You're Mine, the part with Elphaba and Jonathan Bailey in her like little hovel where they're like, and they have sex, which they don't on the show really. Like, I mean, I don't know, we guess probably just see them make out, it's assumed, but the way they both got naked and they were like flying together, and I just like, I was like,
kind of funny.
Go. I know it was kind of silly, but because it was as steamy as it was, which they couldn't do on Broadway, it was like very satisfying to the superfan.
I was like, it's giving Kenny G music video was my feeling about it, because they were like up in a genie. It was kind of silly to me, and I can totally understand I'm also a bit cynical and mean at times when things get too like whatever. So that might be my own like take.
I totally get that.
I enjoyed it. I had fun.
Yeah, so that's good. I'm glad you had fun. It's like my number one favorite Wicked song, As Long As You're Mine. So for me, it's like they could do no wrong with it, really, as long as they like had some, you know, romance in it. And but I totally get that about being cynical. Like there's plenty that Sean and I both look at each other like, okay, like that happened, like all right, about tons of stuff. But Wicked will always have my disbelief suspended. I don't mind. It can be cheesy, but I also just liked that they had them have sex, so that they actually had them get naked. Like we don't get to see her green body in Broadway because, you know,
Right.
So just the way they like went there, I thought was a nice choice and was still very tasteful. And I do agree when they were suddenly floating up in the middle of the woods, I was like, okay, but that's okay. I'll take it just because they're cute. And I like love Jonathan Bailey in that scene. I thought he did great. I thought he was great. Yeah.
I thought they were so great together. I enjoyed the movie. I do think I like the first one better. But I love the super fan perspective too, and different ways that people kind of connected to it.
Yeah, totally. And I like both as well, so I totally understand that as well. But yeah, there's so like my two favorites in order are As Long as You're Mine and then No Good Deed, which is also right after As Long as You're Mine. So that was the one where she's like up in the castle upset that she can't save Fiyero. And they like also added a new like scale for her to do during that is incredible. And I was worried they'd ruin it, and they only made it better, which is the first time I actually fully felt that way about their changes to the music. So I just was like, oh my God, I love this so much. So like something about that peak experience of those two songs together, I think was a definitely super fan thing to get so into. But also I was like, yep, nothing's better. That was it. That's all I needed. I can die.
No notes.
Yep, exactly. Amazing. I don't even care if they bring back Elba. It's fine, because as long as I had these moments. But yeah. Okay, we'll move on. Anyway, I love it now. Thank you for bringing in discussion of it. I'm so glad that we could talk about it a little bit. Fun. Yay. And then we got there because we're talking about gay actors playing straight characters. And he was also in Jurassic Park, the most recent Jurassic Park, as like a nerd alert. And I think he was cute there. But I definitely agree. Bridgerton is peak Jonathan Bailey. Second for me is Wicked. Yeah, and I found this new show that it's on like Stars or something, so I can't watch it yet. But with another actor I love, Matthew Bomer.
I've seen that. The one what is it called? I've seen it. It's really it's hot too. It's very steamy. Would recommend. What is it? It's like about the lavender scare and all that stuff, and it's really good. It's like I really enjoyed it. I thought they were really cute together.
I was like, oh, that looks steamy and delightful. And then I looked more at it and I was like, oh, also like historically important. I was like, yes, please. So
it's
I'm
really
glad
good.
You affirmed.
It's like all Connor's favorite things. So he was like having the best time of his life. And I had a fun time too, but I can't remember the name of it at all. But
just nerding out. I love that for Connor. And then for my future stuff, except it's going to have to be put on Hulu or something for me to watch it. But I'm excited about that. Fellow Travelers?
Fellow Travelers.
Yeah, that is great. I love that.
Great show.
Okay. So that's our pop culture pivot real quick leg. Yay. And my study for today is actually from the book that I'm co-writing, the one I was asked to write, that I have to mention, that is about the use of creativity in trauma work with folks with sexual violence trauma. So psychotherapy at the individual, group, and systemic levels. And I'm going to take this study from the chapter written by one of my co-authors who used to be one of my supervisees and advisees, who wrote the systemic chapter, because they just rocked the shit out of one of their chapters that was newly written. Just like I just saw it for the first time recently, and I just was like, what's happening? This is so good. So I want to give them props. And I want to mention this concept that they talk about. So it's called Feminist Institutional Theory, and they do feminist institutional analysis. And the idea is, when we think about rape culture on college campuses, just as one example, but rape culture in general in our society, that's the idea of like normalizing rape and rape jokes, for example. Excuse you, Tosh Point and Tane Cook, that was egregious. But there's sort of normalizing of that. There's a discrediting of victims or survivors. There's a discrediting of their voices, especially if they're marginalized. So like not just women who are already marginalized for being women, but multiple types of marginalization makes them less trusted, which is then called testimonial injustice, which I love. So that's the idea that like then, they're not taken seriously just because they're more marginalized. So love that. This idea of feminist institutional theory then comes in and they're like, okay, so let's unpack the idea that this isn't just about the individual who is the survivor. Because what is rape culture going to do? It's going to be like, oh, it's not how men are, it's how that one woman was dressed that way and she put herself in a position where that happened. Of course she shouldn't be drunk out in public. Of course she shouldn't be naked walking down the street. Excuse me, we should all have the right to walk naked down the street if it were legal without being raped. That's an unrelated fact. I'm allowed to do with my body what I want. It doesn't invite you to my body. That is not it. So this idea of like creating these stories that make it okay for sexual violence to happen, so that it protects the men or whatever, or perpetrators, frankly. So feminist institutional theory comes in and says, no, it's not actually an individual or interpersonal issue. This is much more important that we look at it from a systemic level, because if we're not looking at it at a systemic level, it will never change. It's not, it's same thing as like doing psychotherapy with individuals. If we're not also looking at being activists, then we're not going to have as much effect on social change. So I love this idea that feminist institutional theory comes in as like, hold up, let's stop blaming the victim. Let's stop blaming the perpetrator, because frankly, it's not even their fault. This is a systemic issue at the greater level that y'all, who are the ones who are deciding with your power what to say or how to put it in the paper, it's your responsibility actually to help work on this and change it. So I just love thinking through this, and some of their suggestions are things like, like shared authorship, thinking about like respect of diverse language, of diverse opinions and perspectives, thinking about victim voice and choice, stuff like that. That obviously to us who know feminist theory, it's pretty obvious, but the way it's applied to the idea of Title IX and so forth is really interesting. And the idea of testimonial injustice, like, of course, I would already be able to figure that folks of color have a particular hard time being taken seriously on the stand. But the fact that there's just like, it is literally just going to be a fact. Like, they just are going to be ignored in a different way and dismissed in a different way is so upsetting, and really speaks the idea that it just can't be the individual. Like, it can't be. If that's a statistic, if that's the thing that we know is happening as a trend, it just absolutely this myth of it being like, and victim blaming is such an instinct for us, and it's so upsetting because it's not just a norm for society, it's also a way of protecting ourselves, because then we're like, well, if it's their fault, that means I can protect myself from it happening. Otherwise, if it's a systemic issue, then it can happen to me too. So point being, loved that they brought that term up. Thank you to Casey for your work on the book. I'm excited.
Yay,
it was due today.
Shout out. Come on the pod sometime.
Loving that. Also, my book was due today, so I should be working on that. I'm going to get it done soon. So thank you, Casey, for your patience. Instead of us doing a check-in, because we went deep in on Wicked, which feels like a shared love now. I feel like I've co-opted you into my shared love of that, So we'll make that our check-in. And let's just dip into the intricacies of Selling Sunset, which is another part why I chose that concept, by the way, that study, because it's so relevant to what we're doing here in this.
Yes. Holy freaking shit. Wild. Mm-hmm. Oh, so how do we want to do this by page, do we think?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. That sounds good.
Perfect. I am happy to go first. So we are doing the Selling Sunset reunion. And we're going to go mostly into the Crishell stuff, because that's the part of the season that I think both of us were really attuned to as to queer folks who are very sensitive to intersectionality and the ways in which shit like this can play out. We were like, we gotta talk about this. Mm-hmm. So to do a little bit of a recap, we start up with the opening. There's a very fancy stylized opening, and Ton France is the host. He's been the host for a few years now, and I think he does a good job. He's not as good at like pushing all the time, but he's a good presence. I enjoy seeing him. He's fun to have on TV. Yeah. I like him too. Starts with the new castmate, Sandra Vergara, and kind of talks to her a little bit. She became close to Bree and Alana and Mary, not as close with Chelsea and Crishell. And I think Crishell was like, it seems like she recognizes, because she's the biggest name on the show, people often want to start drama with her, and she's just kind of not here for it. Mm-hmm. And I think that plays out. She even said, we add a lot of people to this cast, so I want to see how they're going to move before we get close. And she kind of was bringing up drama, I think, to make herself maybe relevant. And Crishell, I just think, wasn't that into it, maybe.
Yeah. I put a segment here for her, because for Crishell, because I did like if psychologists or producers were psychologists, because I actually kind of felt like they did Crishell dirty in including this the way they did, because my immediate thought, and this is different because I was coming from season 3 or something, my immediate thought was back to when she started at the Oppenheim group and how upset she was about the women not treating her fairly. And so I was just sort of thinking, like, if you're really like, she just sort of like, well, I'm big and you want to create a moment, I get it. And I just was like, whoa, if you'd seen Christine doing that, or, and she did, and she hated it and she was upset, understandably though. So it's almost makes me think about this, like, if you've been through it, you put the next group through it. And also that she's also right. Like, I get that, but there's a way you can handle that doesn't even, it's almost like she's giving, I almost call her Sophia. It's almost like she's giving Sandra more screen time by creating a thing out of it. Like, you can do it in a way that's actually quite polite, and then it's over. So I felt like she became the thing she didn't like just from season 3. And I felt like the fact that producers put in the way they did, and she seemed so dismissive, that to me, having not seen it in a minute, I just sort of was like, ooh, Like, I don't know. But
that's a really interesting perspective. I think she was polite, but I do think Sandra picked up on the fact that she was distant. Like she was never.
She was elitist. She was like elitist, which I don't like. Yeah, but you're right. It's not that she was like rude. And I also think like Sandra's point that she was like, well, I'm just saying that you don't, or like, I'm just saying you don't like me or whatever. I was like, I do get why Crishell is saying like, that is you talking about me. Because I can see how like talking about anything that Crishell thinks or likes or doesn't like is sort of talking about her. So I do get that, even though I think they also made her look bad in that way. Because they were sort of like, because I don't know, for some reason it looked like Sandra came out on top in that conversation to me. And I think it might just be because I was holding that, like the way she was sort of like, I know you want a big moment. It's like, I just was like, that's not how you used to be. He's a little elitist. But she ended up, the rest of the time, I was like, okay, there's the one I know. There's Crishell. I know.
Yeah. I think she's just been beaten down by this show a little bit. She's had to put up with a lot of crap since she's come out.
Once I saw that she was sort of being targeted, I was like, okay, so like this is a space, this is one area where she feels like she can own her power, and I do understand and appreciate that.
Totally.
Yeah, but I think producers did her dirty. I'm going to be honest. I think they did. I think they could have made that look different, because there were moments that looked fine about how she handled it, and there were moments where I was like, and so I think because, I haven't been recently up to date with her, it stood out more, the moments that were sort of like, cringe. So they could have just not put it in there, too.
That makes a lot of sense. But yeah, they're maybe not trying to make her look good because she's leaving the show. So it doesn't fit their narrative.
Yeah.
So there's then a warm-up activity where they ask individual cues of each person. Chelsea is asked about ringing the bell versus the slow-mo walk. She says she likes ringing the bell better. They ask who has the best walk, and they say Emma. Emma's asked to show it. She gets a little nervous. It was kind of funny. She references that she would likely trip, and then she stumbled. That was tough. Yeah, I felt bad for her for stumbling, but I think she handled it okay. And then back to her seat.
Yeah, she was definitely very like good at being humble about it, so that if that happened, it wouldn't be a total hot mess. But yeah, I do feel like it became a bit of a hot mess. But it was another moment where I felt like some producers kind of did Crishell dirty, because if you see her face while Emma's walking, she's like not having it. And because I didn't know yet about their fight, my first thought was that Crishell was jealous that Emma was up there, that she got chosen as having the best slow-mo walk, is what I felt like. And then I found out they were fighting, and I was like, oh, that's a different thing. But then I thought about the fact that Chelsea is the one who said Emma, and Chelsea's the only one who's apparently on Crishell's side. So I could see that feeling a little bit like a betrayal.
Oh, sure. Like, and I think Chelsea is trying to like see both sides, but is also like, come on, Emma, you're dating this guy who sucks and I don't like him. Yeah,
she's walking the middle line for sure. And I think she's also trying to mend the fences between them, because she's like, why don't we all just be good to each other? Who gives a fuck? You guys are friends. Let's be friends, the three of us again. I totally get that. And so I can see her doing that as like an almond branch. It's an olive branch. But then Crishell was not happy about it. And I do get that. She's like, you're the only one who's going to have solidarity with me. But so it made her face make much more sense as we got into the show.
That is a really good. Oh, I love your outside perspective. You're like bringing in different things as an outsider that I wasn't even attuned to. I was just like, oh yeah, Emma does have the best walk because Emma's beautiful and she walks well, and it's okay that she tripped. Happens.
But I loved Chelsea's walk too. When they showed her footage of her walk, I was like, I get it. She's got a hot walk. I like it.
Yeah. They all kind of have good walks. I would suck at that. That would be my literal worst nightmare. I would get worse walk every day, all day. I forget how to walk when people are looking at me walk. Like I literally can't walk. So.
That's what I think Emma was worried about. And it makes total sense. Like I put in my notes, I was like, why would anyone expect someone to do that on the spot? It's terrible. Poor Emma. Yeah, it's rough.
Poor Emma. Oh. They then bring out Nicole. Sorry, I'm not a fan of Nicole. Who defends her choice to say the comment to Crishell, which she's done this to her in past season, where Crishell or Nicole, like, I think was misgendering G, and then also was like said something homophobic on social media, and then didn't apologize in the reunion. And literally Jason and everyone was like coaching her on how to make this better. And she just wouldn't do it. Like she is it's like giving such white woman fragility. And I'm like, this is too much. Like, I can't.
Brett. It's Brett. It took me forever. It popped in my head. I was like, I have to say it before I forget, because I will forget. But yeah, sorry. Jason and Brett. Okay, we got it. All right.
Continue. They're very, very normal names. So she defends the fact that she was accused of drug use yet again. She's so fixated on that, and no one gives a fuck. And she said, I was showing that there is a proven record of projection. Enough is enough. Want to say things that were repeated, that I said dead parents, but that is a very, I don't even know what she was making, a very subtle point. It's like, no, you brought in her parents. I do wish I had a feedback for producers that Nicole was just like, they had the conversation with Jason and Brett, and then she was just kind of off the show, and yet they wanted her for the reunion. I do wish they would have kept her on the show in some capacity if they were going to bring her to a reunion. It felt a little have your cake and eat it too. Like it just wasn't a very clear decision. So I do wish producers would have been a little more clear about that.
I'm with that.
Amanza then entered the chat. Even if Nicole was provoked, I think it was hitting below the belt in the manner that is disgusting. I agree. There's no difference between parents and dead parents when we all know they're not with us. Mary refers to meanness on all sides. It's like, stop with the all sides shit. That was awful. Amanza started it via calling Nicole a drug addict, and she apologizes for that. She had just heard that Nicole does drugs, and she admitted that, or had done them in the past. She had never actually done coke with her. It was really funny, as I mentioned, when that happened on screen. It was kind of like a must watch 5 minutes of TV.
And also tell me if you can ever remember where the pink bathroom is, because I want to see that. But I'll definitely go back to this scene too. This girl's giving, if you will.
I think that was a later episode. It's one of Jason's houses that he was selling. I do remember that. It was a really cool house, but I do not remember. Yeah. And then Ton asks Nicole if she wants to apologize now. She continues to defend herself. And then, can I ask her something about Crishell? Do you think I hurt you? And then Crishell says she's happy for Nicole that she doesn't know what it's like to lose her parents, and that one day she'll understand that it's territory you don't charter. Which, my God, is she being nice to this woman who has been awful to her? Like, she could have gone a lot harder for her.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I have a segment here because then Crishell goes on, like, because Nicole sort of actually ends up interrupting her and says, I've lost people I care about too. It's not something I would mock. And it's sort of like, but you did, A. And B, if you've lost people you care about, that is upsetting. It is different to lose your attachment figures. It just effing is. And like, even if they are not actually good parents, even if they weren't great to you, there's a part of you that was born into feeling like they're there to protect you. And so even if they're not great at protecting you, you're still going to feel this weird hole. And in fact, if you didn't like them, it's really conflicting. It's sort of like, oh gosh, how do I feel? Why do I feel this way when like they didn't take care of me? Whatever. And I do get a sense that Crishell does have a good amount of conflict with her feelings about it and her feelings towards her parents and her upbringing, which sounds honestly very traumatizing, and maybe some traumatic bonding happened with her parents and so forth. So I understand there's like complexity there. She went on to say, like, I don't want anyone to join me in that club. There's something about that language, and I've heard that language used. So as someone who lost my dad, I remember when my dad died, someone used that language like, we're in a sick club, you know, that no one wants to be in. There's something about that language that at the time felt very comforting. I was like, oh, that's true. Like, this is something that only certain people get. But like, it is something that I can imagine someone like Nicole with a very fragile ego, would take that comment and feel like it's saying something about her being excluded. And so like it ended up leading to Nicole being like, oh, I've lost people too. And so I felt like it was just interesting feeling it in that new context. I think Crishell had every reason to come from a position of power with what she was saying, because she was absolutely right. That's uncharted territory. There should never be any sort of like reference, none of it. It doesn't matter. And absolutely, you should be apologizing right now. But she was very specific about the way she went about that in like and so it just was interesting the way that, like, I don't think that will ever work with Nicole. Not that I care or that Nicole will ever apologize anyway, but just something about that dynamic was interesting. And so I wanted to kind of think about that as far as like working with Crishell, and I'll come back to that too. And I really like Crishell. I know it's probably sounding like I'm coming out harsh on her, but okay, good, because I do really like her. That's why I would want to work with her on some of this stuff, because I get that there's some unresolved qualities to her grief and trauma.
And it's funny, I was thinking about, I forgot to say this, I would want to work with Nicole on her defendedness and perfectionism, because it's just so intense how she cannot admit fault. And like her perfectionism has clearly served her very well. She's a very successful real estate agent.
Yeah.
And I can imagine that for a very long time, her interpersonal relationships, if this is though her friends say she's not like this off TV. So what is it about TV?
Yeah.
This kind of self-image protection that just makes her really awful to people and really cruel in ways that are kind of unyielding. She could definitely benefit from work on that for
it's
sure.
Like she's fighting with the fans. Like she's fighting with the comments she's going to get. You know, it's not really about the person in front of her. She's like doesn't want the trolls in the comments. It's like just don't look at the comments. It's safer. Like a lot of people are going to say shit even if you look perfect. So just don't take it as a personal thing. And so I felt that way. There's like an extra for like intensity, and there was a lot in this. I actually felt there was a lot of intensity around. And I'm going to come back to Crishell, which is why I didn't say what I'm going to do for therapy, but it was including around some of that stuff, which I think makes total sense. She seems the most solid on the fact that was fucked up, what Nicole said. So that's good.
Yeah.
I appreciated that. Yeah. But then there's other stuff that I'll come back to. Yeah.
Excellent. So now your page.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh, how about that? Okay. So then Ton asks a third time. She says, this is wild. Nicole asks a third time, will you apologize? Nicole says, I would like to let you know and apologize for the intent that was taken from it. I was like, what a dance. What a little dance that was. Very ineffective. Everyone was like, fuck, God's sake, get out of here. And Tana eventually was just like, yeah, you can go. This is not going to work. And I don't think Crishell needed an apology, which is why I felt like she has more resolved that piece of it, that like at least she knows that was wildly inappropriate. Because she just sort of was like, whatever, I don't need it. I'm not going to get it. It was fucked up.
She's not going to. She is who she is. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Can't expect more. Do you have a segment?
Oh, do I?
Don't you have this is something we'd mention the next day? Or is that way back? Oh, that was about Amanza starting it.
Oh, yeah. I thought the Amanza, because I thought that was gold standard reality TV, that episode where she was like, we did coke. Like, I thought that would be a meme. I thought it was the funniest shit I've ever seen in my life. And it just wasn't really brought up. And I think that was a missed opportunity for the memes, because it was really a funny kind of, because that show is very like kind of shiny and glossy. And that moment just felt kind of messy in a way that I loved. So it wasn't talked about the next day. I thought it would.
That's a bummer. And Amanza brings that energy, and I love it. Very authentic. Yeah. They were talking about, like, one of them was asked, who would you have babysit their kids? And they didn't say Amanza. And she was like, what? Like, so upset. She was like, she doesn't even like kids. And it's like, that's probably not the purpose that she chose Mary. Like, obviously, it's more about, like, who are your friends, you know? So, like, don't worry. It's not about your parenting. You're probably great.
It was funny. Yeah, she's sweet. I like she always comes off likable. Yeah.
I really like Amanza as well. So then we talk about G. So why don't actually you cover this part, because you know more about G and Crishell's relationship than I.
Yes. So they have a really great relationship. They seem to get on very well. And Crishell always calls it like she's in her G bubble, which I think is really cute. They brought up their fertility journey, which I thought was really cool. And I thought was a nice socio-political moment to like normalize like struggling with fertility and bringing attention to fertility in queer relationships, which I think is so important. Yeah, I love their love, like, and I love when it's shown on the show. And I love that Crishell, she's such a public figure bringing attention to queer relationships. This, like, I feel like she was fan favorite from the jump on this show. And then to see her embrace her queerness and like go so full force into being like pro LGBTQ when she's had so much backlash, I admire her so much for that. And I think their love is wonderful, and I'm glad that she's happy with G, and I'm so sorry for all she's faced on this show. They had a Game of Thrones medieval wedding. It was cute. Fun and silly. And they have a new dog named Peace, which is adorable.
That's so cute. I agree about her coming on hard, and she did a great job being like, it would have been fine. So the next thing is about Crishell and Emma's relationship, and really about also Blake. And so Emma and Crishell were really good friends. Blake is Emma's new thing, like fling, if you will, but like on again, off again a little bit. It turns out he's He's from the South, which he uses as a little bit of like a shield for the fact that he also seems to at least very much misunderstand gender pronouns. Let's just say that's the baseline. We definitely know that. And maybe in an attempt to relate, maybe like trying to be funny or thinking anyone would be like, oh, I know, right? Pronouns are so annoying. He like said something like that, which very much is like, nope, actually, pronouns are really important. And actually misgendering can be extremely painful for folks. So like, actually, we should all worry about pronouns. And the way that I thought it was good, the way that the way that Crishell was like, you're right, like he didn't specifically say this, but what he did say was, and so what Blake had said to Crishell was, he goes, what are your pronouns? She says she, hers, and then he goes, oh good, you're normal. And like, oh no, that's not okay. That is so sexist and painful, rude, disgusting, frankly. And so like to suggest like, oh no, he didn't say anything like that, he's totally fine. It's like, no, that's actually kind of worse. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I almost think that's worse. So I just like very much was like, no, not a fan. I can see where someone like Blake, who was so young and immature and, you know, not exposed to a lot of really important factors like this, even if he's not MAGA. Emma's like, he's not MAGA, almost as if MAGA itself was a slur word. You know what I mean? She even refers to herself as getting slurs hurled at her on social media. Because the point is that Crishell, for a long time, was trying to say to Emma, ditch the guy. He sucks. You're better than that. Get rid of him. And then eventually she was like, okay, listen, now it's personal because he's also being extremely offensive. Politically, it's like way off a different course than I am at. And then Emma would say like, okay, we broke up. And then she'd be seen with him. And one time she lied to Crishell about where she was going because she was actually going to go see Blake. And so then Crishell felt particularly hurt by that. So she went on social media and said, yo, this dude, MAGA, blah, blah, blah. And then she goes, I'm just going to have to love Emma from afar. And, you know, I totally understand that instinct of being like, listen, I can't be friends with you for lying to me. I'm going to go tell the fans why we're not going to be talking anymore because they have a right to know too. And obviously, you know, I do get also the idea that like social media can lead to a lot of extra hate that doesn't need to be in the chat, if you will. I don't think sort of saying that like, okay, he said this about pronouns and therefore he's MAGA is that wrong. I feel like even if he's not MAGA, that's fine. But like the point is just that like he's of the ilk to suggest that like a gender pronoun is offensive in some way, like annoying or something, you know, not normal specifically is what he said. Gross. Like, and so I don't need to know you're MAGA or not politically to know that that means that we're not going to agree on some major things that in this case is only personal to the people on the other side of him. It's not actually personal to you in any way, Blake. That's why you can be dismissive of it. That's why you can be like, whatever, it's annoying. It's not annoying. It's actually extremely personal and offensive to people that do get it and want to care about it. And so what I really liked about the conversation between Crishell and Emma was that when Emma was like, oh, he like misgendered, and Crishell was like, no. If he misgendered, I would have just said they, and it would have been over. And I loved the way she was able to like firmly stand in that and be like, it's okay to make mistakes because that's the truth. Pronouns are absolutely easy to make mistakes about. And if you're able to just like correct, move on, don't make it the person's fault. Like, oh God, I wish they just would use he or like, if you just don't make it the person's fault like that and you keep it moving, everyone's happy. No one feels offended because you're trying. It's like the same thing as like trying to speak French when you're in France. If you're an American, if you just try, they're going to respect you so much more. So I loved that Crishell was able to be like, nope, stop right there. That would have been fine. So you're wrong. Here's what he actually said. Here's the problem.
And it's very attractive to a certain subset of the population who's like, oh, I'm so tired of woke culture, to be like, they're just overly sensitive.
Yeah.
And they're the problem. I'm not the problem. And what I think is playing out on this show that I'm seeing, like, I don't know if they're all MAGA. They might be, they might not be. I think, I mean, Bree has even said, I don't do pronouns, which to me is horribly
like you were telling
offensive.
me that. Yeah, I didn't know that. You were telling me that. That's wild. Yeah. Perfect.
I think the problem is that rich people don't want to be uncomfortable. And so California rich people, maybe, I don't mean to overgeneralize, this is not always the case, but want the liberal politics perhaps, but don't actually want to do the uncomfortable work of reckoning with the harm that one has done, right? As a privileged white person. And that is what I see in all of these people who do not have to directly interact with people who maybe use different pronouns at this point in their lives. And so they're like, well, I just don't do that. That makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah. I'm allowed to decide I don't use certain language. It's like, yeah, they're also allowed to ask that you treat them a certain way, just like you expect people to use she pronouns with you. Like, I don't, there should be no difference. And if we started calling you he, do you think you wouldn't react poorly? I'm pretty sure you would. Yeah. And I would even take it, I like the overgeneralization. I totally agree. We want to be careful about that. But I agree with what you started to say there too, where I think like really rich people are benefiting from Trump's presidency, and also therefore a lot of times by Republican political agenda. And by the way, that is actually political. That's okay. You can like Republican politics and still not agree with this sort of like attitude of disliking difference and disliking the importance of sort of accepting and in fact embracing learning from difference and letting people live their own fucking lives. Like, why does it matter? You know? So I think there is this big overlap of sort of like conservative views, and because of the political conservatism, which is fine, but like social conservatism is where like I think that's where the rubber meets the road in California, where it's like they realize that at least they should look socially liberal, even if they're actually conservative, because politically they probably are conservative. And so then there's probably more of a mishmash than they want to admit. And so to them, it feels like a slur to say that they're MAGA, you know, whereas it's much more just like sort of like, listen, like if you're able to speak out about this and care about this, it's much more personal now than the politics because of Trump. It's not because of us. It's not because we're sensitive. It's because this became personal based on him being like, these people don't matter because they're not like me. And you are also not like Trump, so you also don't matter to him. So like the fact that you are not taking it more personally is actually more of a you thing. Then like we're all aware of the fact that all of our rights are in question. And I think like the other piece that really frustrates me a lot about that is like, you're right about like, they just don't want to deal. They're like, it's easier. It's like they not only don't want to like feel uncomfortable, because I totally agree with that. They also don't want to learn. They don't want to take the time to like learn about pronouns. They're actually quite simple. And in fact, we use they, a plural pronoun, in the singular when we don't know someone's gender. So you already do it. Just apply it here. You're doing that just because you don't want to feel comfortable. I totally uncomfortably agree. You don't want to remember all the times you fucked it up. Like if you admit now that it matters, you're going to have to think about all the times you made mistakes. Friend, we have all made mistakes. We all have to do that. So that's okay. Like you don't have to feel like you're in some way defunct because of that. And I think it's better just to embrace it now than have other people start calling you out about shit on Twitter, whatever. So like, I think it's much better to learn about it, take care of yourself, take care of the people around you. When you do have a trans daughter or son, you will then, or trans person, in fact, trans child of yours, you will regret that you didn't learn about this earlier, and that you probably have shit all over the internet of you saying that pronouns don't matter. So the thing is, there are people too. In fact, they're not threatening in any way. The actual violence is against people who are trans, not from them. So I think this like misinformation they spread is so frustrating because you're right. It's coming from a place of personal privilege. They don't have to learn about it, so they don't want to. They don't want to take the time. They'd rather just like, it's easier, right? It's easier just to hate a person than to learn more. How great is that? Oh, I hate that.
And often once people with these opinions meet someone with those identities and understand them, their opinions change.
Right.
But unfortunately, if you're not putting yourself in situations where you're with different people, you're not going to learn, and you're going to be able to project all your weird opinions onto them and their experiences.
Yeah.
Which sucks.
Or you might meet someone, like I feel like Brie met G and like wrote them off as different. Like they're not like all trans people. Like it's okay. I like G because G is the whatever, you know, like effeminate looking or something. Like there's something about her that makes it, something about Brie that makes it easy for her to be like, there are certain ones of you that are okay, and like I can look like I like them, but like I don't need to worry about pronouns. It's like if you actually cared about Brie, I mean G, if Brie actually cared about G as a person, you would care about pronouns. So like it shows that you are like superficially something about their, you know, gender expression or how they seem to be on a playful level, but you don't actually care about them as a person. It's just, I think I also just went on to say, like, I was like, it's easier for people to hate than to learn. And then I was like, I hate that. So like, I acknowledge I also kind of do a little bit of that. It's easy to do that, right, with in-group, out-group effects. But I also feel like I do have a lot of empathy and try to learn. Like I actually had a lot of feelings about Blake. I think he's very immature. He doesn't know a lot, very different. I honestly think he probably was trying to connect, which is why Emma was like, I feel like he was trying to connect. I honestly believe he probably was, but he didn't take any accountability. He didn't try to learn from it. Emma didn't try to learn from it. Emma took no accountability. Going back to the recap, Crishell apologizes eventually. First, she was like, I think it's right that I'm annoyed. She's like, but I will be the first. I'll make an apology. Apologizes for social media. Emma doesn't apologize. Doesn't apologize for Blake. Here's the next piece that I have some empathy around it, and we had talked a little bit about this off camera as well. Emma's position, Ray, is she's saying her boyfriend and best friend should get along. This is the moment where I was like, Crishell, my friend, I think we need to sit down and have some talks. I just want to be able to help you process whatever emotion is getting stirred. And that's when I was like, oh, you have trauma is like associated with your parents and others maybe. But she got so worked up about Blake. Of course, Emma lied to you. You literally made it unsafe to talk about Blake. So like, absolutely, she's going to lie. And I think that was Chelsea's point. Like she's in love, like, da-da-da. But it's more than that. It's sort of like we as therapists learn we don't take a position even on abusive relationships, because then the client won't come back or talk to us when they get back together with them. They'll sneak around or just not come. So I was like, I don't know. I think there's something else being triggered. Like you can have a friend who makes a poor decision. Like they were saying about like Mary and whomever, like that she was able to just stay on the side of the relationship. So so I was like, oh, something deeper is happening here. And so then, I also thought of the idea that like, if it's about control, then it might be about her parents. And so then she goes on to say that as well. She's like, I've been in this relationship before and like, I don't want to do it. Like, I've always been the one to keep trying and keep hoping, and they keep disappointing me, and I'm not doing it anymore. And it just felt like, but they're victims also. Like, and so is Emma in a way. She's a victim of an abusive, toxic relationship and a cycle where she feels loved, and he becomes an exciting object. When she said it was her third boyfriend, I was like, no fucking shit. She's basically 16 in maturity. Like, that's what this is. This is her 16-year-old relationship. Of course she feels like it's playful and she wants to be able to try it out and like wants to like defy mom a little bit and like go sneak out and whatever. And just the way she was like, and then sometimes my family would like see me with him and da-da-da. And I was like, you're so, it just felt, I was like, you're so sweet, but like misinformed and long way to go. But I have so much empathy for that position. And I think Crishell just had none left, like none of it, because it was too triggering. So why don't you tell me your reactions to that, though? Because I feel like I mostly covered the section. So tell me what you're thinking.
No, I think so. Yeah, I think we pretty much covered it all. I feel for Emma as well. I think Emma wants to settle down and have a family, and she's kind of been, unfortunately, it seems like she's dated some guys who haven't treated her very well, which sucks. Like, I feel for her. She's kind of trapped in a system too.
Yeah.
And I do think that Crishell holds power in their relationship because she is the most popular person on that show. And Emma is aligned with her in a lot of ways. And like, while their friendship is beautiful, it also makes them both money. So follow the money a little bit. And then that's an additional reason to maybe lie or try to, like, it's really complicated. Emma's got these competing motivations. And I genuinely think that their friendship is real. I don't think it's just the money, but it's also like intertwined with her business. So it's really kind of complicated.
Yes. Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And I think Blake is immature. He also, and there were like allusions to him being abusive, and I'm not even, I felt like that was getting weaponized because I don't even know, I don't know what the deal with their relationship is, but then it's like, how dare you, Crishell, bring this up? And I thought that was unfair. Like, because
Crishell was talking about her being and crying from the bathroom, right? And then Mary was like, how could you say that? At the same time, you're abandoning her, you're sharing private details.
Yeah. So it felt like it was like deflection, and then everyone was blaming Crishell when I felt like Crishell was being harmed too by the things that Blake had said.
Yes. And rightfully responding to that. Exactly.
Right. Yeah. And then becoming, notoriously kind of brought shame upon, or whatever, however we want to say it.
Yeah. Shamed, publicly shamed. It's so true.
Shame. It was just, it was the response to her was, it felt like too strong. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Which is maybe the part that makes you feel like there is a MAGA quality, even if they're all politically not MAGA. There is something about their feeling justified in coming for Crishell that's based on them not understanding what it feels like for her. Just like the only person who does kind of get it is Chelsea. Chelsea's like, as a Black woman, I understand how it can feel like they're coming after you for your identities and it's unfair. And yet Chelsea is in a different position of trying to like, I was thinking about how for Chelsea, she's been having that experience of being double marginalized by society for way longer. And so she's just in a different position now than Crishell is, who's sort of experiencing new parts of this. So I think, and I think Crishell's very much moving through it gracefully and learning very quickly. And I'm very impressed by that, and very integrated herself. But I do understand why there's a slight difference in their two positions about it. And that Crishell really does have privilege that Chelsea doesn't. And so there are ways in which there might be like a little bit of like feeling betrayed by Chelsea, but I also understand where Chelsea's coming from. But it also means that only Chelsea kind of gets it. And even Chelsea's trying to be a bridge. It's like Crishell has no one.
Yeah, she's really kind of alone, and I really felt for her because she has dealt with multiple seasons of like heterosexism, and like she said, people on social media telling her to kill herself. We're missing the old Crishell, but not in the way that you're saying, like in the she's different now. The straight Crishell, and it's just sad. I don't know. It's sad that that's the way the show kind of positions itself.
Yeah, right. Because ultimately, who has the most power in that room? Fucking Brett and goddamn fuck, Jason. And did they say a single word to support Crishell? Not a one. Like, they said shit to support Mary, and they said shit to like come after Nicole's comment about the parents, but they don't say shit about the coming after G. And to me, that's just like egregious. I think they absolutely should have stood up for that, said something about it. No wonder Crishell feels like I have no more to do here. Like, I'm out. Like, there's nothing. And then Crishell dated Jason, or
she did. Okay. Yeah, she dated Jason after her marriage. And so that was a whole plot point. And then after they broke up, it was on a reunion that she was like, I'm actually dating someone new. And it came out that she was dating G. And it was like, oh my gosh, this is very different than the people you have dated previously. So it was cool.
Yes. Liberation.
Yes, it was wonderful.
Is Jason the one who also dated Mary, or is that Brett?
Yes.
Okay,
Jason's kind of gone through a few folks. Okay. He does often stand up for Crishell, to be fair. Good. He didn't this season, though, about this as much as I think he could have. Yeah. Which sucks.
And he put so much weight on the Nicole thing, which I also fully agree with, by the way. Fully agree with that. But I honestly think even Crishell was sort of like, whatever, it's this. Yeah. It's like she sort of was like, I'm over that part because she's fucking not understanding it. So, like, whatever. Yeah. But, like, people like Bree, Mary, and Emma, whom I love, and I trusted Emma, should get this and understand this when I've only ever tried to come from love for Emma. And I get Emma feeling like she was being made fun of at a certain point. Like, that is hurtful. Being like, oh, the guy you're with, like... And also get Crishell sort of being like, yeah, see what I'm doing here? Like, that guy sucks. Like, because she feels personally attacked by him. And I think it speaks a lot to, like, the liberal reaction, right? Is like, if we come from that position of being like, oh my gosh, MAGA, like, it does do this sort of alienating and honestly elitism. And that is a piece of what I was sort of feeling from, like, the one moment Emma was like, and you know that I take care of my family. And Crishell was like, absolutely not. Like, do not act like you're coming from a holier than thou position. And I was like, whoa, like, that alone as a thing, she absolutely did not want to be in the power down with Emma at all. Yeah. Like, and I just was like, that's intense as well. And I think if she was a best friend, at least when they were best friends, I hope that wasn't a part of it. Like, you don't need to be, you can both be in different, you should be supportive of each other being in a position of power and holier than thou, frankly. So, like, literally, you can be holier than thou. That's okay. You can be better than people around you. That's okay to take that kind of power. And so I'd want you both to do that. So her reaction to that just showed me she doesn't feel that way. She feels disempowered. Mm-hmm. So that's where the, like, need for elitism feels like it's coming from.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Really I do kind of think Emma might have felt in the power down position in their friendship. Which is kind of sad.
Yeah, because Crishell had seniority on her. And I think as soon as Crishell started being the one with seniority, she used it. Like, she definitely was like, I am the one who now finally gets to be the senior. And I get that. Like, when we're in high school, we want to be the senior one day and be the one who's able to be like, oh, let me show you how it works, It's just like there is a humble way to do that. And when you are in the power down position and you notice that that's not something you like, you can start to develop your own humble version of it for when you get to senior status. And that just, like, isn't one of the things I kind of thought she might, and it's not what she did. And that's okay. It's her own journey with power, I think, and feeling disempowered and things with her parents. Trauma. Anyway, point being, yeah, I like seeing through this dynamic in both of them. And by the way, I've always really liked Emma. I think the reason she is likable, like, I think she is extremely young in terms of her experience, her romantic experience, notably so. But I think she's also very emotionally buttoned up. And she even says that. She's like, I had a tear, and I think everyone must have been wondering what was going on. I was like, I don't think anyone wondered when you got a tear coming down your face. But, like, the point is, to her, it feels like really notable because she doesn't usually cry. So I think she said something about her being buttoned up, and I think that's part of what makes her seem like a cool girl. Like, she seems very, like, put together, formal, but actually it seems very, like, hypoactivated. And I just want to, like, give her a big hug and put her in therapy.
Oh, Emma. We feel for you, and Crishell, we feel for you too.
Exactly.
I'm sorry you're both in this position. Yeah.
Let's get there. Did you think anyone? Anyway, we'll talk about that next time.
Yes.
Listen, we've got to stop. So, friends, check us out on Patreon, in particular, patreon.com/realitytest, capital R, capital T. You can also go into the search bar on patreon.com and search for @realitytest. Please check us out. $5 measly a month, and you will get all sorts of extra content, including exclusive videos. So if you want a video episode, you have to go to Patreon. You also can go to Instagram and see our @realitytest podcast, whereas our TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube use @realitytestpod. And then our email is realitycheckpodding@gmail.com.
And don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, tell all your friends. It really helps us to keep doing this thing that we love so much.
Some pair sound guy one time. Friends, thank you for bringing your friends, and tell your other friends. I'm glad friends brought you. High levels of friends. We'll see you next session. Bye.